In 2010, Apple attacked the netbook industry with iPad, a device that wasn't quite a laptop, but definitely not a mobile phone or iPhone either. It sat right smack dab in the middle and offered a then unique experience, which then went on to define the tablet industry for the next decade. But over time, the idea of what a tablet is has changed, and as hardware got better, people wanted more and more laptop-like functionality while retaining a smaller, thinner, lighter, and more affordable form factor. Surprisingly enough, the industry pioneer, Apple, was the last to join this two-in-one hybrid party and really only began taking this transition seriously in the past 3 to 4 years. Unfortunately though, they're still behind, and the iPad has become this awkward, weird, not quite a MacBook / oversized iPhone in most cases, unless you're using it with the Apple Pencil. That is still one of the major benefits of buying an iPad at this point. But with the MacBook Air being so thin and light and powerful and the iPhone Pro Max models being so huge, what's the point of buying an iPad unless you're an artist or a student? I've had to ask myself this question many times, and I used to be a lot more enthusiastic about the iPad, specifically the iPad Pro 2018 models, which seems so promising. I still am hopeful we'll have another iPad renaissance at some point, but in the meantime, only one new or current gen iPad remains true to its greatest common ancestor, the iPad first gen. This true iPad is the 6th gen iPad mini, a device that is truly intended to be used as just a tablet. And sure, you can buy some third-party keyboard accessory for it, but Apple did not implement the smart connector on it, nor did they create their own first-party keyboard for it. It also lacks Stage Manager, even though the A15 Bionic on the inside is on par, if not a bit more powerful than the A12X and Z variants found on the inside of iPad Pro 3rd and 4th gen models, which do support this feature, albeit without external monitor support. It does, however, feature the Apple Pencil 2nd gen, which looks a little silly considering how the Pencil takes up like 90% of the length of the Mini's chassis, but I'm not complaining. Even though the Mini is smaller, using it for jotting a few notes, sketching a quick concept, using Scribble to turn handwriting into text, annotating PDFs, and more is just really refreshing. I say this because at times, using a larger iPad, particularly a 12.9 inch, can feel a bit cumbersome in hand and on a desk surface. The Mini not only takes up less space when you place it down, but it also fits more nicely in the palm of your hand and can even be shoved in a pocket if it's big enough to accommodate its size. But real quick, while we're on the topic of using Apple Pencil with the iPad mini, you absolutely have to pair it with a Paperlike 2.1 screen protector. I cannot use an iPad without one of these, simply because when I note take, or when I did note take back in the day more, I'd always use a pen and paper or a pencil and paper, and I love that feeling. A glossy display just doesn't feel right when I'm writing or sketching or drawing, so having this finish is amazing. And with the 2.1 variant, they've increased translucency or transparency even more, so you're really not sacrificing any display quality for this wonderful finish. I'll leave a link to that in the video description. But more importantly, I want to talk about the pencil grip that I have here, developed by Paperlike. These are normally translucent or more like color match to the pencil, but these specifically are special edition made by one of my really good friends, Canoopsy, aka Isaac. He decided to collaborate with them and make these really gorgeous seafoam green ones in a limited edition color. They're the same price and they offer the same extra amount of grip and just comfortability while using the Apple Pencil for a long period of time. So shout out to Isaac, very proud of you for making this collaboration happen. Check out these special edition ones, support my mans, and Paperlike as well. They make excellent iPad accessories. Using iPadOS at this size also feels really intuitive. Since I can reach all 4 corners of the display without moving my hands too much, I find you can be really efficient with the multitasking interface, bringing in apps when you need them and minimizing them out of sight when you don't. The UI also doesn't seem stretched out or taking up an unnecessary amount of space like you'd see with the iPad 10th gen and a 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Once again, in my opinion, iPadOS seems best optimized for the Mini's compact display. You get more capability than iOS on a Pro Max model iPhone, but without the extra bulk, weight, and cost of a larger iPad model. Media consumption is also great with this device. It's big enough to be a step up from your iPhone, albeit the display tech is not as advanced or bright, but more importantly, you can use it pretty much anywhere without it being awkward. I'm big on watching videos in bed while lying down or on my side, and doing that with this is not a big deal at all, whereas with anything larger, it absolutely would be. Typing on screen with the keyboard here is an elite experience with the iPad mini as well. The landscape experience is okay, although I can find I can get a decent word per minute count if I practice enough. The portrait experience, on the other hand, brings the best of tablet and phone UI together. You get larger virtual keys, which I think leads to less error on your part, but a small enough screen gap portrait-wise that doesn't require you to split the keyboard in order to type this way. iPad mini also offers the most normal camera capture experience in the iPad lineup. Whipping out a 10th gen, an Air, and especially a 12.9-inch model for a quick photo or video looks and feels straight up stupid, but snapping a pic of the school board or a handwritten note or a person feels so much more natural with the mini since it isn't too much bigger than the iPhone Pro Max models, at least in comparison. Even with that said, the 12 megapixel shooter and flash on here are more than enough for this usage case and for FaceTime calls. The front-facing camera on here is also quite nice with center stage capability for video calls and super wide-angle selfies. My only complaints about this device are that the bezels aren't thinner, which could accommodate a slightly larger display without making the chassis larger. I also wish the display tech was a bit more advanced and a little brighter, definitely outputting a higher refresh rate as well. The implementation of ProMotion would make this device irresistible in my opinion. But this is probably not going to happen because Apple wants to differentiate its Pro models from the other models and make you spend a lot more on 120 Hz or that specific feature. But everything else I've mentioned, all the positive aspects of the Mini make it the perfect Mac and or iPhone companion. It doesn't get in the way, yet it's just big enough to perform all the iPad functions you've come to know and love without any issues, even with the Apple Pencil paired with a smaller display. It's the perfect, now somewhat pocketable iPad that serves its purpose and serves it very well without feeling like some sort of half-breed, buggy, oversized, goofy nonsense. Just like the iPad first gen back in its day, I think this device fits super nicely between current gen iPhones and Mac laptops. It retains its identity and purpose, and that's what makes it possibly the last true iPad. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Shout out to Patrick Tomaso for some inspiration here. Check out my link to Paperlike. Happy New Year as well. I'm really excited to see what this year brings. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.